Do you know, Seamus? Do you really? It's been 4 months since your last Pixar theory now, Seamus. Can you really claim that anymore? Stop calling yourself a theorist! You literally don't even make Pixar theories anymore! You literally make videos critiquing theories!
Starting to think my videos might be getting a little unnecessarily dramatic, but let's talk about the timeline for the Pixar theory. 5th of September 2012, the YouTube channel Cracked released a video called Why Pixar Movies Are All Secretly About the Apocalypse, discussing the idea of a shared universe between all the Pixar films. Of course, ending with WALL-E and the end of humanity on Earth, hence the apocalypse. Fast forward a year to the 11th of July 2013, John Negroni pieced together all these Easter eggs and references, making the Pixar theory. Within a month of his original blog post, it kind of blew up, catching the attention of Tyler Carlin, the unsung hero of the Pixar theory, who told his older brother Jonathan Carlin all about it. And then on the 23rd of July, he went on to make a video about it for his YouTube channel, Super Carlin Brothers. To a bit of success, you know, if you googled Pixar space back in 2013, the first search result was Pixar theory. Now, not so much. But unlike a lot of other popular theories, people didn't lose interest in it within a few months. You know, Jar Jar Binks as a Sith Lord, anyone? It actually continued to grow as a theory way longer than anticipated. You see, in the year or so following, the Super Carlin Brothers started to make more videos asking further questions about Pixar films, and continued to create connections between the Pixar films and explain how newer films fit into this universe, eventually going on to basically pioneer an entire genre of content. And with this success, other channels came along with their own ideas, thinking they could do the same thing, which I've just got to say is just a completely despicable thing to do. You guys are complete rip-offs, you know that? Through 2016 and 2017, there were now multiple channels adding to the Pixar theory and thriving on its success, making it look like it would never stop growing. Until 2018, the year the Pixar theory died. And to a lot of people, to hear me say those words is probably some of the most welcome news in years, because the Pixar theory is hated a lot. I sincerely believe there must be a page on Facebook or something somewhere dedicated to hating the Pixar theory. I haven't been invited to join, but I just feel like it exists. It must do, right? Alright, don't imagine a huge portion of people watching this video are in this group. I'm assuming if you clicked on this video, you're probably a fan of the Pixar theory, since the title is Why You Don't See Pixar Theories Anymore, and you probably clicked on this video because you've noticed the lack of Pixar theories uploaded by YouTube channels you're subscribed to and are wondering why. And while I can't tell you for certain what's happened, I, as someone who makes them myself, can at least tell you why I haven't made one for 4 months. Presumably why the Super Carlin Brothers haven't made one since they revisited the whole theory back in October. And while yes, some other channels like What's So Videos or The Theorizer have made some more recently, I can't speak for them, but they don't seem to get as many views as they used to. Which might provide the most obvious conclusion to what's happened. People just lost interest. And yes, kind of. It's definitely a contributing factor, but a lot of people see the Pixar theory as kind of old news, and anyone still theorizing about it now is kind of milking it. I mean, can you imagine still making Pixar theories in 2019? They haven't released a film since, like, 2018. Stick to something more relevant like Harry Potter or Star Wars. But I don't think this is the decisive reason behind it. All in all, if you have an interest in pop culture fan theories, you don't just lose that interest in pop culture fan theories overnight. I don't think the Pixar theory was only liked by kids, and for the same reason, I don't think being interested in fan theories has an age limit. And when you look at the current biggest franchises in the world, this backs that up. There are channels here on YouTube purely dedicated to making theories and videos delving into the lore of stories week after week after week. Whether it be for Marvel, Harry Potter, Game of Thrones, or Star Wars, and some of these channels have over 1,000 videos. Not only that, but they continue to grow week by week and video by video. Meaning, therefore, surely if there was a channel dedicated to Pixar theories and lore, it would also manage to succeed in the same way, right? Except there's one major and pretty obvious difference between Pixar's films and Harry Potter or Marvel or Star Wars' films being they're so much more simple. You can't make hundreds of videos about them because there just isn't enough lore to theorize about. And most specifically in comparison to Harry Potter, where literally if you just look up the number of characters or magical artifacts referenced at least once, there is an alarming number of things you can make videos about, making me think Harry Potter theorists might have just scratched the surface 12 years after the Deathly Hallows release. Don't even get me started on the new material they release year after year, and by that I mean Fantastic Beasts, the only in-universe story since Harry Potter. I don't know why I made it sound like more than one. Whereas with Pixar, there just isn't nearly as much to work with. I'd say there's 4 or 5 notable Easter eggs per film. While there's more of a range with important unanswered questions, with films like Monsters Inc. and The Incredibles having a fair few, while others like A Bug's Life and WALL-E don't have nearly as many, making the average closer to 3 or 4. I mean, there's probably an average of 4 good theories you can make per film. Well, yes, the same applies with them making new films most years, giving new material to theorize about, and that's why I think a good new original theory can still have legs and do well. There just aren't that many good new original Pixar theories anymore. And I make it very clear, this isn't at the fault of people making the theories. It isn't anyone's fault, matter of fact. It's because, well, let's head back to that Pixar theory timeline I was talking about earlier, because I spent way too long editing this to only include it once. The Pixar theory began in the summer of 2013, which is the most important piece of information to keep in mind because Pixar have been making films almost consistently every year since 1995. And once it got to 2015 and theorists were consistently attempting to answer questions left open in Pixar films, there have been 15, 16 films released by Pixar. And we're going off the maths I did earlier, being that you can make 4 good theories off your average Pixar film. That means there are like over 60 theories. And therefore the gap in the market began to get filled. Theory after theory after theory after theory until 2018, when most of the interesting questions from these films had now been answered. I'm not saying there aren't still potential good theories from these Pixar films that came out in the past that could still be made that I'm just completely oblivious to, but there can't be that many left. And I personally hope we keep adding to the Pixar theory with new theories with every new film they make, but the reality is they only make 1 film a year most years. And that just isn't enough to work with to be able to make a new Pixar theory every week. And yeah, this really sucks for me just as much as you because I've built my channel off the success of Pixar theories and well, I feel indebted to make them all the time and I can't. Because the reality is when I do try and dig in deep to a question that no one's ever really asked, no one really watches it. Okay, 47,000 is a lot of people, but in comparison to my audience size, that's like a 1/6. Less than a 1/6. I'm good at maths. And this viewership makes it seem like the Pixar theory is dead, but I don't think it is. Nor do I ever think it will return to its glory of 2016, you know, unless they release like 4 films in a year, which will never happen. But could you imagine? No, Seamus, it's not gonna happen. And despite this, I still plan to continue making Pixar theories, whether it be only upon their films' releases or if I think of something that I said didn't exist, being a theory about an old film. I shouldn't have said, no matter what direction my channel goes in, I still think I'll make Pixar theories because I like making Pixar theories. For that reason, I am so excited for the future because there are 2 Pixar films coming out in the next 15 months. That is something worth being excited for. For that reason, I hope I see you in June when Toy Story 4 comes out. Or sooner than then, if you want to continue watching my videos beyond Pixar. Because I've just explained I might not be making as many Pixar videos in the next few months because there isn't that much to make videos on. Have I mentioned that I'm not planning on making any videos on the Toy Story 4 trailers, or is this just something I think I've mentioned that I haven't mentioned because